Okay. So it says host disabled attendee screen sharing. I think you need to enable
Okay,
screen
let
sharing.
me. It's disabled, huh? My side does not say it is. Very odd.
It's
Okay.
not disabled. It shows green. It should be shared.
Okay, so see if you can share now.
Yep, that's it.
Got it?
Yep, let
All
me
right.
get the document now. Let's see. This guy, right? Hope it's the right one. Nope, that's not the right one. Is it? Shoot, nope, that's not the right one. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
This one, here we are.
Trials and tribulations of Zoom meetings.
Yeah, it always takes a second for me to do the technology dance. All right, can everyone see that? And help me, tell me if it gets better if I enlarge it.
Yeah, because it's tiny.
Is it? Shoot.
Well, we can't read any of it. Well, I can't.
You don't need to read it, but you need to be able to
Okay,
see
we can
it.
see it. We can see it.
Is it going across your whole screen? 'Cause I'm sharing an app rather than the screen. I understand.
It's fine. It's fine where it is.
Yeah,
Great.
You're good.
All right. So this is there's some context at the front end that I'm going to go fairly quickly through because it's more about building the concept and talking about regionalism and context that the city of Portland would look at. And there's some slides that I'll just roll through fairly quickly, but I won't go through all the narrative and just get directly into the building. And I'll probably slow down at the describing zoning and architecture. I think that's for the most part, and perhaps quickly address the nature of the project is very interesting. This is the zoning page, but let me go ahead and jump to this slide. Is basically this project was brought to our attention by the development team, and they're trying to obtain a LIFT grant, which is a significant hurdle to get over, and they are awarded the grant, and which allows the project to go forward. And this is there's a lot of specific type of funding for these types of projects, but essentially it's subsidized by the Portland Housing Bureau, the Oregon Housing Community Services, the LIFT grant, and for a variety of other partners to provide subsidized low-income housing. And so that's, I mean, it solves a pretty serious almost crisis, if you will. Certainly a strong need in the country, and certainly Northeast Portland. So let me go back one step here. So this is the zoning, and this we can answer questions. I'll go through this quickly here, but it's essentially an RM3 zone with a design overlay, which just means we have to present the project to the city, do a design review. The North Interstate Plan District supersedes the zoning, which is the RM3 zoning. So that allows for a little bit more density and a little bit more height along the interstate corridor, and even higher allowances along the I-5 corridor. And this site actually is, can you see my mouse? It's pretty obvious where the site is, but just to see if I can do this for later. So the site basically abuts the highway wall there. And so that's a specific zoning sort of designation. So we have Killingsworth, and it's on the corner of Jessup and Minnesota. That's right here. Access would be, there's streetcar and highway access to the site. So, we can go into, anybody can ask questions further about that. So that's the project. So this is the beginning of the context and sort of the inspiration for the project. And we discussed, the location of the site in the Pacific Northwest, and it's sort of edge of the country, and the geophysical context, some of the sort of more special places about the Pacific Northwest that would architectural nerds and planners in the group may understand the genius loci, the spirit of a place, and that's sort of build an argument about that and the Columbia River and the city. And then the understanding of the highway how it influences architecture is fairly significant to our process because the thing is literally right on the freeway. And so there's a project that we talked about, the Zipper, if anyone's familiar with it over on Sandy. It's a great project in that it sort of deals with the pedestrian as the pedestrian was experiencing the building, as well as the way cars going fairly quickly past it would also have a different experience. And so we were trying to work with that sort of the realm of that experience, as well as, of course, for the occupants to actually use the building. So the building is kind of designed for with the neighborhood in mind in that way. So this is more context about the neighborhood and the city of Portland, the urban grid, which becomes a sort of a design sort of jumping off point for us. Of course, the albino community is significant in this. Anything that you're going to talk about is going to have impact on its its urban context, the community, as well as there's historical stories about this, and the construction of the highway was a controversial moment. It's there now. It's an element we're working with. See another shot of construction. Of course, the Paul Bunyan, the icon of Pacific Northwest. Let me move my notes here. So here we go into the sort of more specifics of our design. Again, with Pacific Northwest and the grid, and we did this thing where we're sort of combining these elements and talking about the idea of this is a modular construction. So there is this idea of this project is stacking. There's a shift in the grid, a bit of a shuffle for using some programmatic elements for the community design spaces, which are sort of what this last sort of diagram is representing. Whoops, I went too far. 14 is, this is just the zoning envelope. It's very simple. It shows the floor area ratios, the maximum building height. We're actually, zoning allows 125 maximum feet. We're at 85. So you can see what the envelope would allow and what we're actually doing. If there's any questions, we can go back to the slide. It's a sort of a helpful slide. This is the other thing about this particular zone is that its proximity to the freeway. You can see on the right here is actually a section through the freeway looking north, and the site next to the freeway. Of course, there's little Minnesota Avenue there, and the step down height into the neighborhood. There's another development immediately to the west of this site, and then you see this residential scale across the street, across Montana Street from there. And there's some language we can get into should anybody have questions about that, about how that city code is written. All right, so early concepts, again, with the grid and the sort of using programmatic elements to highlight, to break apart that sort of more rational grid, I suppose. And massing at the ground floor. Of course, we're going to have a core. It's going to be 8 stories, so there'll be an elevator core. We're opening up the north and south for courts, maintaining a relatively strong wall along the freeway here. Let's see if there's anything important here. I think not. The main entrance is to the north. There's some side entrances along the east. This diagram shows the courts fairly well and a sort of a massing and orientation. Access to natural air and light. This begins to show the building a little bit more carefully, and the community rooms are in orange here. And so those are, accessed from the building, but these can be made access to the community at large. And so these are sort of highlighted portions of the building that have access to the views. And we talked earlier about the Pacific Northwest, the mountains. You can actually see Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, view of the downtown and Fremont Bridge from most of this building, but particularly from these community rooms. Let's see, this is a how the building will be constructed. And I think it's important to note that the developers brought to the project this idea of modular construction and what is also known as mass plywood, which is, if people are familiar with the new kind of construction technology, and particularly, I think, Pacific Northwest, but it's a wood frame construction that allows great heights, and it's called mass timber. This is a subset of that called mass plywood, and the floors will be actually made of plywood. The walls will be metal framing. But the cool part is it's built in a factory, delivered to the site, and so the actual impact time. This is I've presented to neighborhoods before, and everyone's concerned about parking and access during construction. So construction times are reduced greatly by this process, as well as access, and it's just essentially the construction process is much shorter. So I think that's a good thing. Here we have the northeast perspective, what it's going to look like from the corner of Minnesota and Jessup. And this is the main entrance here. You can see the units, the windows. This is one of the community rooms. Looking to the north from the south, the other community room. And there's the loading dock and the back entrance to bicycle parking here. This is what you'd see the building from the freeway heading north. This is the ground floor plan. We basically are going to have common areas, an office on the corner, and another common area here, bike parking, and essentially lobby, and two bedroom units, a 1-bedroom and a 3-bedroom. And you'll see that sort of motif repeat through the building as we go up. We got floors 2 and floors 3, vertical circulation. Again, one of the common areas on floor 4, common area on floor 6. Floor 7 has the other common area. These again are all the 2 bedrooms in the dark gray, the 1 bedrooms in the lighter gray, and then the 3 bedrooms inside the court there. We sort of employ the concept is the stacking grid, and so there's an alternating floor pattern, so you get sort of slightly different variations between floors. And then we see some elevations. This is just like the 2-dimensional version of the building. This is the west, the south with that community room. The north is the north is the main entrance here. You can see a little corner of the community room, and the east elevation. This is along the freeway. Here we go back to the rendering, where you can see the actual building, and it's as close to what we can think of the building looking at. It's probably subject to change as we go through the permitting process and get more engineering involved, but it's pretty close to what we sort of are at this stage. And I went pretty quick. Let me see if there's anything else that I think we can talk about landscaping. And with the grid, we're using a similar concept. So we're trying to bring back that concept out to all the way out to the edge of the site, and actually sort of wrap the site in this concept of landscaping. So there's certain grasses and things that we're using to that we just feel are going to be a nice approach. But the concept is this sort of checkerboard pattern that's going to be offset, and so the sidewalk, there's different zones. The way the Portland transportation folks look at this is some interpretation here on our part. But basically, the through sidewalk, a landscape and a furnishing zone, and then a little setback zone that we're hoping to plant as well. And then, as I said, continues through to the back into a little court here. So we can see sort of what that may feel like at the street level. We're also employing a wooden colonnade at the street level that we are sort of bringing some wood elements that, sort of mimicking what the construction type is like to experience, so that the user experiences that at the street level. So you can see here's some of the black Monday grass and the green Monday grass and sword fern, and the heritage river birch, which we like to plant along the perimeter. This is the main entrance. There's a court that you go through. You're still this is the north side of the building. You're still on the outside. This is a little sort of private court, but you'll see through it from the neighborhood. main entrance here. Let's see if there's anything else that's on this page. There's we're collecting rainwater. There'll be some sort of planter or stormwater collection for that here. Here's the west perimeter, what the landscaping would look like. It's a little bit different on this side because this is actually a required landscaping strip. It's got a little bit more dense of a planting than the street sides. You can see the different zones here, the furnishing zone, this is the pedestrian zone, and the frontage zone. List of some of the plants that we're using. Trying to continue with the Pacific Northwest themes and indigenous plants. I think this is more landscaping, and I think that is, I mean, I can continue to talk about landscaping for a bit. We've got a lot of slides about it, but I think that pretty well covers it. Nice view of the entrance court, and you can see the density of the massing. We're trying to kind of make this kind of forest feeling as you approach the building. You pass through these kind of the columns get a little bit sort of thicker and deeper at this point. Turns the corner here, perspective at the corner of Jessup, Minnesota. This is looking down Minnesota at the back towards the entrance. This is the back court, and it's more of a private court for the residents. And some of the materials that we're looking at, and just sort of some details for the way to keep that colonnade up off the ground. This is an earlier project at the Art Museum that was using the same construction technology and sort of highlighting its use. Some other examples of it being constructed. Siding materials, maybe cementitious panel or a very sort of textured metal panel. This is actually a wood building, but that's the idea. There's sort of a fair bit of texture to this project. There's just some construction details that are interesting, how this thing kind of comes together. We've got to think about this joint. This is one unit here, next unit sort of stacking on top of that. And the rest of it's kind of supplemental. I think hopefully that wasn't too terrible to listen to, and I'm happy to field any questions anyone may have about the project. And I can just kind of scroll through these and we'll land on.
Don, I have a question. Where are the cars going to park for all those units?
That's a great question. Let me go back to there is no parking required, simply put. The city of Portland zoning determines parking requirements for these projects, and they do not require parking. It's a city policy that I think is designed to change the way the cities operate. I should probably stop there, but I think it's got something to do with if you build it, they will come. The bigger the highway, the bigger and the more cars will be there. The more parking you provide, the more cars will be there. So they want density, they want parking, they want to encourage bicycle parking. So what I was going to show you is what we're actually doing. If I can just draw in.
Don't worry about the bicycle parking, because the fact is, with majority of these buildings, you're going to probably have about 50% of the individuals having cars, and the capacity of the place is going to be about 120 people in there. So you're going to be about 60 cars that are going to be parking there. So we understand the fact you have a biking place there. That's wonderful. That's awesome. But there's about 60 to 70 cars that can be parking there. Also, did you guys take into account what it does to the sunlight for the other areas or the other houses on the other side of Jessup? You have an 8-story building going up, and then we're going to miss sunlight completely for 6 months for that section. And also, was there a solar study done on this at all? And why does it look like the board created it? That was just mine. That's just kind of petty.
That was petty. I'm going to put everybody on mute. If you have a question, because I feel like people are just going to all start talking. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and let's do this in a more structured manner. So, so John, there were a couple of questions there.
Oh, okay, great.
Wait, I just unmuted John. Hold on one second. Well, I needed John, but now I can't find him in the person thing. Where the hell did he go? Oh, there he is. There you
Is
go.
that now, is
Yep,
that better?
there
I
you
think
go.
I had to do it myself. I
You had
think.
to do it.
Okay, no problem. Right, so many studies were done. The shadow study is, I mean, there is massing mitigation that we have done, but I hear you. It is a large building, and the zoning allows it. So the shadow will occur. That is without a doubt. The bike parking is what's required by code. The 60 cars that you referenced is perhaps also likely. I actually, we haven't done the traffic study yet. That is probably also, but again, that is, you know, that's part of the city's agenda, I suppose. I mean, I certainly will take notes and I can get back to you on this, but I don't have any good answers for those two questions. Is there something else that I missed?
There were some questions in the chat, so let me find the chat. And again, if you have any questions, raise your hand. And so let's see, how many units? Somebody answered 72.
Okay.
Is the back court accessible to cars?
Is the back court accessible to cars?
Yes.
No, it is not. It is for bicycle parking and pedestrian access.
Okay. There were a couple of questions about the solar study. What is the access on the south side of the building? Is it an alley?
The access is, let me show you, is here. So that's the south sort of end of the building, but there's the property line is here. And so that's it. Essentially that is, there is a setback there because of the neighboring property of 10 feet. So there is, in some aspect, I suppose, like an alley, but it's going to be more of a landscaped area, sort of required landscaping, separating the distance, filling the distance in and creating the separation. Does that help?
Yep. Let's see. I think one question got answered. What is the scope? Whose scope is well, I don't understand this question. Whose scope is traffic study, city or you? I don't know what that means.
You know, that is a good question.
Whose responsibility is it ultimately to provide that study? Is anyone on the hook for that?
It's a good question. Sorry, let me see if Nathan.
Austin,
Do you
this
know?
This is Austin.
Yes, Austin.
Yeah, I can speak to that because we're
Thank
dealing
you.
with, we're building a similar project in next to Portland State University. So the Portland Bureau of Transportation laid out the requirements for a new building's traffic study requirements. Those are recent. And so you can go through essentially a traffic impact study, or you go through a pre-approved plan that's approved through the city and through the Portland Bureau of Transportation, where you provide financial incentive for every unit's worth of the building to access mass transit in the area. So in this case, we'll be going with a pre-approved plan and making sure that all of the tenants have essentially a monetary incentive to use the mass transit. And given the vicinity to the transit platform, we'll be making sure that everyone has free access to utilize that transportation system, including the bus system in the area as well. So there are two different studies and or two different routes we could go down, and we are going down the pre-approved path that's set by the Portland Bureau of Transportation.
Yeah, thank you, Austin. That's right. And I think the other thing that just is sort of part of the base zoning code is that within within 500, we are within 500 feet of mass transportation. And so that's one sort of tick mark about whether parking is required. And I think that the fact that it's low income, that there's an inclusionary zoning allowance to that also, once you do that what Austin just explained allows for the tenants to use to get subsidized transportation.
So free access. So Katie had asked the question, what does free access to mass transit mean? It means that we are supplying a year pass for TriMet and the Max to every units worth of the building. So everybody's getting a free bus pass. Everybody's getting a free Max pass, as long as they're a resident.
Thanks. Sorry, I'm just going to double up on that. Can you please address the requirements then for how many of these units are affordable housing and what that level is?
So what's great about this building is that it is 100% affordable. All units will be offered at 60% or less AMI. We're still working on the pro forma right now. We'd like the building to actually afford for deeper affordability for any of those family size units as we can. But every single unit's worth. So if we're at 71 units, then we're looking at 71 annual passes for the TriMet or Max.
So can you tell me what you think the average rent is going to be? Have you guys done that for
Yes, absolutely. So 60% AMI means that the rent is capped, and those rent caps are dictated through the state and through Portland as well. And so you're looking at, I can't name them off the top of my head for each one, but I can tell you that the studio line item, which there are not many of them in this building necessarily, but because this averages out at over 2 bedrooms on average, which is greatly needed in Portland, particularly accessible to the community of color we're really trying to target with this build. But you're looking at $967 a month on a studio to $1,460 for a 3-bedroom. So that is considerably lower than the market rate in the area, which is really our target here. We've seen the transit corridor really being mopped up by a lot of market rate development. And so the purpose of this project is to bring more affordability to an area that has close to a really good transit corridor, and provide for a community of color who is, traditionally and historically been displaced from this area, have access to those things. And obviously with the building and building amenities that are modern and top of the line. So our rents are capped either way, and those are dictated by the state every year, and they will not exceed those. And that's the trade-off with accepting not only federal financing, but also the low-income housing tax credits that also apply to this building. Also, Portland Metro grants Transit-Oriented Development Fund, that grant as well. This project is receiving that. So we'll be in talks with Portland Metro how we can better offer more incentives to really utilize the mass transit that's available in the area to mitigate, the parking concerns we have in this neighborhood.
Cool. All right, thanks. There were a couple of questions on exceptions or if you've gotten variances.
Think that through. The only thing that, maybe I'm misremembering, but the only thing I can think about is there's the variance to try to get the loading dock. The planner was suggesting to either move it or shift it down, but I think we don't want to. It's fine where it is. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we're trying to do.
So no design variances with the way it's being built or the style or any of that.
Not that I'm aware. No, I'm
No.
sorry. Sorry, I'm fuzzy on that. I'm thinking it through. I just want to make sure
There-
that there aren't any, but
Can I speak to that? There are no exceptions being asked from the zoning that has been passed from March and from August.
Okay.
And to move forward on the other questions, all of the units, because this is an elevator build, all of the units will have a level of ADA accessibility, whether that is full ADA type A, type B, type C, but all of these units will at least be a type B. And the lower level units will be at a type A to maximize visitability, to answer Tova's question.
Okay. I think there was one more question. Have you built other similar structures in Portland or elsewhere nearby?
The fabricator that we're using for all of these modulars is actually based in Portland. And yes, this company has built other projects with the modular method as well, including affordable projects within Portland Metro.
Okay, perfect. All right. A couple more questions. So what's currently there? Is there a house there that you're going to take down? And then what is the timeline through the design process, completion, and then the construction completion?
yeah, so there is two houses that are going to be demolished. We're in design review stage right now, so we'd probably submit for the land use review application early next month, and there is a public comment period. Let's see, that goes till the beginning of January. The demolition permit process would be beginning the end of December. Let's see, there's some decisions that are going to be recorded. Basically, we try to submit for a building permit in March. Probably the more important date is construction would be early summer, as we've sort of proposed the schedule at this point.
Is when you would start.
Start construction. Mhm.
Okay. And then 6 months, a year to build.
Yeah, but I mean, sure,
Yeah.
more than 6 months,
Okay.
probably. But
Perfect. All right. Well, I know we're a little bit over time. Do you have emails available that we could send additional questions to? And also, can we get a copy of the design for people to forward to the people?
yeah, should I follow up with? I think it was Chris, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's
How
perfect.
do we? Is that the
Yeah,
way?
that'd
we
be
do that?
fine. You can just send that information. I'll act as a point of contact, or our land use person will, for questions and have them forward them to you.
Okay.
And if you could send me the design proposal, just what you shared tonight, we'll put that on our website for people to view.
Yeah, I'd probably,
And then I think we'll have
probably
other
edit
questions.
this thing down a little bit. Let's see if that's okay. But so essentially just share what I can with you, and you'll forward questions to me?
Yep.
Okay, sounds
And
good.
any timeline you have in terms of when you expect to apply and when public comments open, that'd be great.
You betcha, we'll do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Cool.
guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your
Thank
time
you guys for your time. Much appreciated.
as well.
All right. So if you have additional questions, you can forward them to Chris. Is there a specific email you want them at info@overlook?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
And then
Okay. And then we'll forward them to John and Austin.
we trying to think. Well, we can follow up electronically later this week or something, Christian?
Yes,
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Perfect. Thanks so much, you guys.
Okay, I'm going to close out then. Thanks again.
All right. Take care. All right. So let's go to the land use chairs. Introduction. Good timing. Brian, and Michael. Would you guys like to give a brief intro about who you are and why you
Sure.
volunteered to as land use co-chairs? It's very much appreciated, by the way, especially for things like this. So.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Brian Yarn, and I just volunteered for the land use chair, which I'll be splitting with Michael Payne. I think two eyes are always better than one. And I'm a master's in real estate development student at PSU. And I have an interest in development. I have an interest in cities. I have an interest in neighborhoods. I do live here, and I think it's a good way to get involved with both our community and also with developments going in. And yeah.
Great intro. And this is Michael Payne. I've been in the neighborhood for over 40 years and various places around town. I haven't lived specifically in this location of the site that we're talking about, but I'm very familiar with the area. So very passionate about what's going on in the neighborhood. On top of that, I'm an architect. I work at OTAC, downtown Portland. It's a multidisciplinary firm. So it's architecture, civil, landscape, structure, and a few other things. And I reached out because I realized that I have been at some of the Overlook meetings, but have not been a participant. So when I saw the position come up, I'm certainly very interested in land use and architecture and design and how it integrates with our community. So I thought it would be good to, throw my name in the hat, and sounds like we'll be co-chairing that. So I'm excited about providing that support.
Thank you both for volunteering. This is land use is one of our biggest topics, obviously, as you can see from this. So it's very much appreciated to have both of you on and helping Overlook monitor and help with these issues. So appreciate it.
Certainly.
And hopefully you guys have gotten everything. Oh, Brian.
I think Brian and I still need to connect and figure out some of the pieces, but we'll figure that out.
Perfect. Okay. Brad, did you have a question?
No, I was just happy that they were volunteering.
Oh, I thought you had your hand up.
No, that was, sorry, that's the other one. Anyway, yep.
Okay, perfect.
I'll work on this.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael and Brian. Appreciate it. And we'll give you plenty to do, I'm sure. All right, next topic is board reports. And then we'll do public comments and then we'll adjourn. Board reports. Anybody on the board have anything? Yep, Alan. I'm unmuted. You have to unmute yourself. Hold on one second. You see the button come up?
Okay, now you got me?
Got ya.
Okay, everybody get the newsletter.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay. For the next couple of Fridays in neighborhood update, would you please use my email address because I'm looking for more volunteers for the newsletter.
Okay.
That's it. Just say I need new volunteers for the newsletter.
You want us to put it in the update, the weekend update? Yeah. Us. I say us. Chris?
Yep.
Great. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Alan.
That's it.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, the transportation's been quiet, which is nice. The other one is that on the treasurer side, we are getting some money from Amazon and from Freddy's. Right. So those are starting to come in, and that's good. It'll end up being, I think, a few $100s a year, but that all helps. Yeah. Offset those printing costs and things like that.
Cool. Do we want to put in another update in the update? On that?
I think I've got one more dollar amount coming, and then once I've got that, then I can just, yeah. Or Chris, if you need text, let me know.
Yeah, if you want to just send me something by the end of the week, that'd be great.
Okay.
Cool. That's good news. All right, anybody else? Cynthia sent a chat and she said she did not have any updates. She had to leave.
Hi, everyone. It's Casey. Nothing really to report right now on the the homeless update committee. I will have an extensive report on December 1st during our own board, but not for today's purpose. But I've been busy learning quite a bit about the ins and outs of reporting to city developments and other mechanisms here as far as homelessness is concerned. So nothing to report right now, but certainly on December 1st, I will have a more thorough update.
Great. Yeah, looking forward to that discussion. I think that'll be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other board members? Updates?
Can you hear me?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Marcy.
Sorry, I attended with George the PSAC meeting,
Okay.
and we did discuss the camps on Going Street quite extensively. And there have been recent reports of fires and burning trash, to the point where it's interfering with residents along Blandina. So I will post in the chat Jonathan Lewis's email and phone number, because he said that if you are having problems with those people along that street, he was unaware of issues with Going Street camps. So I would encourage people that are on Blandina that are or going or right by the pedestrian overpass that are having continued problems with those camps and bikes to please report to him. So I'll post his name in the chat, and if you have that information, specifically photographs and reports, please report to him and let him know so that we can work with him to make this area a little bit safer.
Great. And who is he?
Jonathan Lewis. He's the one-point contact.
Oh, the one-point contact.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was at the meeting. And there's a phone number there that I posted. You can leave a message. It's like all government offices. You leave a message.
Okay, great.
Yeah, he's actually pretty informative, and his email you can always go through one point of contact for sure, but he was gracious enough to give him his email to point us in his direction. So I would say if if it becomes an issue, becomes a problem, one point of contact plus jonathan.lewis@portlandoregon.gov is your best 1-2 punch on this matter.
Okay, sounds good. I know at one point we had put a bunch of information in, was it the update, Chris? A bunch of information on who to contact. So maybe this is, maybe another opportunity to put that into an update.
Yep.
Yeah, Casey, if you want to put something together of all the right people to contact.
Yeah, that's what we'll probably unveil when I get clarity on our December 1st meeting, but I'll certainly make that available. But I understand it, though. It is important to go through one point of contact first, is because they have record of it. But as I mentioned here, while he provided his email, but he was very in tuned and curious of what's going on in Going Street. He encouraged us to send him emails on specifically what's happening there. So.
Great. Cool.
Inform.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I was going to say, by all means, use one point of contact first. But if you have, direct problems and issues, then go farther. But by all means, use one point contact first. Try to report it through that. Let the city know so that it's reported. And then if nothing happens, then, contact Jonathan. But if you see egregious things, then definitely, especially the fires, because recently this weekend there was fires lit that was all garbage, and it was a lot of plastic in the air, and it was
There's a lot going on down there for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Any other board members before we move on to public comments? George, is that you? I can't. George, you have to unmute yourself. There you
Okay, there we go. One of these I'll get the hang of it. So along that, the PSAC reorganization and whatnot, I haven't seen anything further from Akimi or Judith concerning another meeting. The last one would have coincided with our general meeting, which was canceled last time. And there was nothing, so that didn't interfere. I don't know if they're going to be scheduling another one before the end of the year or if it's off into January. So it's still going to be a work in progress. Mark Wells is still involved, and Robert King is, I think, going to be involved in there also. And there was some indication that the former commander from North Precinct, Mike Leloff, might actually have some input on all this eventually. And he was instrumental in having the PSAC attendance at about its highest level when Mark Wells was running it more than several years ago at this point. So stay tuned. Akimi and Judith are working on it.
Cool.
Okay. I just
Awesome,
wanted to make sure that was out there.
Yeah. So there's hope and moving forward. Awesome. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other board members? All right. All right. Thanks, you guys. All right. Let's do public comments. So if anybody has a comment, unmute and I will.
I keep commenting into the shared chat. I just want to know, who do we hold accountable for that traffic study? It sounded like someone was kicking it down the road. No pun intended.
Traffic study.
Yeah, just the impact that these developments are going to have on the neighborhood relative to the current conditions.
Safety and how many cars are realistically, like just being honest, are going to come in with these units. People are going to have cars. And if they're not including any parking at all with these large high density units, and multiple of them are coming in into a very small neighborhood that's already packed with cars. So it's already not entirely safe sometimes. And so who's doing that parking study? Who can we hold accountable?
Parking study. So I don't know, do one of the land use chairs know that, or Chris? I know that it's not, parking is not required. And I don't know if a parking study is required. So maybe, I don't know, one of you guys has a better answer to that.
This is Michael Payne. I am not aware of who is required to do it. It's something that I was curious about as well. Personally, it's something I'd like to look at just to understand. Parking, one of the things that I do want to look into is the North Interstate Plan District overlay, which extends beyond just the standard zoning use for this area, just to understand what can be done.
People just need to,
it showed adjacent, there was another project directly next door that's about 6 stories. So it seems like there's already another project going on. Just curious.
Yeah, they're putting in multiple very large high density units in addition to this one. So that's where the question's coming in, because none of them are proposing parking. So even if just a tiny fraction of those people bring cars, it's a safety issue.
It's a huge safety issue. And we're experiencing the swell daily just with construction teams on site, parking their trucks, parking their cars. Like, crews come and go, but the streets become increasingly narrow and unsafe. In the last year, I mentioned in the chat, like 4 out of 6 cars parked in front of our building have been sideswiped. The streets are not designed right now to accommodate like a regular traffic pattern where there, 2 cars can pass each other and then cars can park on either side. The streets become by default one-way streets, and a lot of the intersections aren't marked with stop signs. Like it's just going to be riddled with blind spots and density, and just
it's scary.
It's totally scary to think about.
Like, so I want to know, like, who's going to, what's the city going to do? Because it does impact the safety of our neighborhood and the quality of life of the residents.
Okay, well, sounds like Michael Payne, if you can take that on, that would be great. And
yeah, I'll certainly take a look and see if I can find out who is ultimately responsible. Whether it solves our problem or not, I don't know. It sounds like zoning allows many things that are probably not advantageous to the direct neighbor. You can see from the section. So I'm very curious about that. So yeah, I'll definitely look into that particular question as well as a couple of others.
And the email, if you guys want to continue to connect with Michael and Brian, is landuse@overlookneighborhood.org.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. All right, anybody else?
Can I chime in?
Sure.
I live on.
See you. Hold on. Okay. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Hi. It's my
Sorry.
first Zoom call.
Great. You're doing great.
I live on North Jessup, and I think Minnesota is next to the wall on I-5. Well, there's a buffer zone there. It's just lawn and trees. Maybe that could be made into a parking area if they reconstruct that. There's a bunch of homeless tents there now, so I don't know if that'll work or not. But there is a buffer there, and that can be used for parking. They just paved that over.
Is it immediately next to the sound wall?
Exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
Michael and Brian, can you take that action as well?
Yeah, I can, I guess we can kind of look at that. My guess is that that's an open space next to the freeway, but
And might be owned by ODOT, right?
it's probably ODOT, but certainly at least to look at it to understand what that is.
Yeah.
Speaking for Brian, we can look at that.
At least investigate and just, yeah, I'm sure it's an ODOT. It's got to, but yeah, it would be good to just to look.
Yeah.
And then same, we can put out the land use email, but like I said, landuse@overlookneighborhood.org if you have additional questions on that.
Yeah, I was going to tack on. I'm curious about the building plan for behind the one we talked about this evening. I haven't seen any notices up on that particular property yet. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a similar process to this one where there'll be public comments taken, or if they, for some reason, didn't have to do this, or just haven't done it and they should have. So
is that immediately to the west?
Immediately to the west, yeah, directly behind it.
Thank you.
That project already went through this process. They presented at one of our meetings probably early in the year, or might have even been a year ago.
Okay, they never posted a sign. I walk by that like pretty consistently, and they never posted a sign to say that it was going through this process.
I can't speak to that, but they did present here, and they did go through the review process at the city. In fact, the neighborhood had filed comments in opposition to that project based on one of the provisions in it that they ultimately changed. It's since been approved by the development department. It's just whenever they decide to break ground.
Okay, thanks. But yeah, I guess it's my understanding from reading a little bit about this that they don't always post the required signs, and that's a little frustrating for the neighborhood, but I will keep a better watch on this. Thanks.
Yeah, because they have to, right? So if they don't, yeah, let us know.
Okay. I also wanted to tack on just to let the land use folks know that I watch the trash trucks come through our neighborhood every week, and similar concerns to Jordan. Like there is definitely very little room. They struggle. One guy, I have a 2-year-old, so we love to watch him, and he has a tough time. So
it's a huge issue. I mean, it's like, it just seems like it's just so irresponsible to assume that just cars aren't just going to completely clog the corridors that lead to our homes.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, like watching the garbage trucks kind of like narrowly weave through. I mean, it's just like, just assume your car is going to be damaged if you own one. That's my recommendation. Just get used to parking on the curb to give yourself another 6 inches, because you're going to need every inch you can take. Like,
all right, well, we will have them look into it for sure.
I live on a very small street, and my neighbor's car has been hit a couple times by the garbage truck because people park where they're not supposed to. But the problem is, I just got a building that's 6 units and, 8 different things. I mean, it's coming. We're going to see the influx here because everybody wants to live by us because we're so awesome.
Especially you, Marcia.
I mean, really, unfortunately, like, we're a great neighborhood to live in, and we're going to see larger and larger buildings. And we are actually
And
seeing
it won't be so great.
in the car usage. The 2 units around from us on a very small street are 8 and 6 units, and actually we've seen it increase to maybe 3 cars.
Can I segue on that one? Sorry, I haven't talked yet, but I'm on the corner of Church in Minnesota, which is pretty close to this project, and we just recently bought this house too, so we're moving into the neighborhood and pretty new. So it's nice to meet everybody. Also, we don't have a car, and I think that's one thing that we definitely factored into this. We knew about this project too, and I think it's one of the benefits and advantages of this neighborhood is that it is so close to the max, and we're so close to grocery stores and everything. And I think this access is something that we have the privilege of using. So unfortunately, on some side, parking is going to get more difficult. That's just how this neighborhood is zoned. I've factored that in, and I know it's not fun to say, and I'm going to be on the kind of the opposing side of this, but I think it's something we're just going to have to get used to. And I know the streets are pretty narrow as is. They're old. They were designed before cars even existed. We're one of the original plats of the whole city. That's why it's part of the original Portland block that we know and love. That's so walkable and that we get to live in. That's my side of it. And I just wanted to ring that out there and say that.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And especially with the changes to the land use where they're going to be able to put, bigger houses everywhere, not bigger houses, but more houses everywhere. So it's something that we're going to have to get used to. I agree.
And certainly within that zone between interstate and the freeway is already designated a high density.
That one is designated high density
zone.
All right, I know we're a little bit over time, but we can do, I don't want to cut anybody off. If they want to speak.
I have
Terry, I know.
Hello?
Yeah, George, hold on one second. I know Terry wants to talk.
I just want to say thank you for letting me join you all. I'm your neighbor from another neighborhood who got grounded in San Diego, and I haven't been able to make it up there yet to the perch and working with David, but I wish I could see everybody's pretty faces. I see some icons, but thank you for letting me just introduce myself. And David, maybe you'll show your face one of these days too. So thank you. I can't wait to meet you all in person when I finally make it up there.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, so Terry and David are in the perch. The perch is just right in Arbor Lodge. So the perch is where the bowling alley, what was the name of the bowling alley? Overlook bowling alley? I don't remember.
Interstate lanes.
Interstate lanes, thank you. Where that used to be. So, and we had our holiday party last year. They were kind enough to let us have our Overlook Neighborhood Association holiday party there last year, which was great. It was a great place to have.
And that's a good segue in that, just a reminder that we're not having it this year for obvious reasons, unfortunately. So the next meeting of this bunch will be January. Okay.
Yep, the third Tuesday in January. All right.
So
yeah, one more comment.
Is it mine?
Go ahead, George.
Am I on? Oh, okay. And actually, is the perch at the bowling alley? There's the one right down here at Willamette.
Not the perch. Yeah, the Arlo is the bowling alley. The perch is the one that's in our neighborhood. Mm-hmm.
Right, at Willamette and Interstate.
Yeah.
Okay, the
Sorry, I got
other
that wrong.
quick.
I'm just trying to confuse you, George.
Anyway, I'm easily confused.
Don't worry, me too.
This day and age.
It's been a long day.
I don't know if anybody else gets these notices from Portland Planning and Sustainability about the agenda, and it might have floated across earlier. The next one coming up here on the 24th, and I haven't tuned in. It's via YouTube. But one of the things is Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal Plan Amendment. And it doesn't go into any description about what that is. Hearing and recommendation. So this is the old ICURA, which of course is why we're seeing all this mess executed in accordance with the Albina plan, which was, in my opinion, ill-conceived and force-fed to the neighborhood. But this amendment, I'm puzzled as to what that might be. Does anybody have any idea? Brad, perhaps you might have heard something.
don't recall. Sorry.
What did
Okay.
you, George? What did you say? What's the interstate?
Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal Plan Amendment. So what we were involved with the light rail and everything else like that was the Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal, ICURA, ICURA, that we went through for years. And then they decided, we don't need any more input, and they just disbanded the thing. And
So who in our group would investigate that? Do we know? Is that a land use or is that a
It will be, it really is going to be land use on that. I was on the ICURA. If it could be that it's the actual formal end of the project, but if our land use guys don't want to do it, I'll take it.
I was actually, I'm sorry. I was actually just looking at the interstate urban renewal for class project. So I'll look into it. I thought for some reason that there was actually a deadline on it that wasn't too far, and it was coming up. And I mean, it could be anything. It could be an extension, or it could be something else. So I'll look into it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, George.
Okay, because I know, and it's been actually a couple of years ago now. Cynthia was involved with that because they were trying to, in essence, take ICURA funds and side saddle it over, I believe, toward the area of the Rose Quarter project.
Right.
That's gone back and forth and up and down.
Right.
And they wanted to take money from here and stick it over there, which was not even in the zone. And a few people protested about that, and I think they just kind of let it go, but I'm not sure. And this could be it, that if there's anything left, that they want to grab it and stick it into the fund over there at the Rose Quarter. But I have no idea. And so if anybody gets any clues about that, I'd be interested to know.
Well, it sounds like Brian is gonna look into it. So
research it.
Maybe
Excellent.
Brian, let us know if you have information by our board meeting on December 1st, or January. That's fine too. So. All right, thanks you guys. If anybody has anything else, info@overlookneighborhood.org if you have any additional questions. And our next general meeting will be January, the 3rd Tuesday in January, whatever that is. So stay tuned for that. And thanks everybody for attending. Appreciate it. I know lots of people.
And the next board meeting is that December 1st?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Happy
and everybody's welcome to attend that too. So
happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays.
Yeah, to you as well.
Okay.
Thanks everybody. Yeah, to everybody. Have a great one. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.